Hi guys. So as our users increase in numbers, we're gonna have to have more than one server. And the best way to do that at this design will be to separate the web tier from the data tier, which means we have to set up a separate database. So when we talk about databases, we have a number of different options, mainly like two categories of options. The first one is the relational databases, RDBMS. It stands for Relational Database Management Systems. That's quite a mouthful. And non-relational databases. There are like four general categories here: key value stores, graph stores, column stores, and document stores. So usually when designing a application or a system, I would go with relational. I would start with a relational database if I like the, if unless the requirements strongly suggest that I shouldn't, I would go with a relational. The reason for that is that they've been around for many decades. They've been used and tested, and they stood the test of time. So, it's a good starting point. But obviously, if you have requirements that can't be satisfied by those, you're going to have to explore non-relational databases. Um, so when we have one database, there is also it might also not be enough. You might need to scale your data tier. So there's basically two ways of scaling it. There's vertical scaling, which is adding more power to a single machine, such as CPU or RAM or what have you. And there's a horizontal scaling. So basically, instead of adding more power to a single machine, you add more machines, you add more database servers. Vertical scaling has its limitations. Obviously there's a hardware limit of how much RAM or CPU you can add to a single machine, and there's also no redundancy. Like you still have one single database, and if it fails, like the whole system shuts down. So because of those reasons, horizontal scaling is more desirable for designing large scale applications like this one. So let's go into database replication a little bit, right? So what is database replication? Database replication can be used in many database management systems, usually with a master-slave relationship, or we can now call it a leader-replica relationship between the original and the copies. So a master database generally only supports write operations, and a slave or a replica database gets copies of the data from the master database, as you can see here, and supports read operations. So all data modifying operations go to master or the leader, and the read requests go to the replicas. And the reason to that is that most applications usually have higher read to write ratio, right? The reads are more common than writes, so this usually holds for a good number of applications. So, but why do we do that, right? It brings some advantages. So one advantage is better performance. In this model, like we said, all writes and updates happen in the leader, and the read operations are distributed across the replicas. So we can process more requests in parallel. Reliability, we have more than one server running. So if one server fails, we can always use the rest of the servers. And this also increases our availability by replicating data across different locations. Ideally, our website remains in operation even if a database is offline, because our users can access data stored in another database server. Let's talk about some scenarios. So what if we talk about it increases redundancy and reliability? So how does it work, right? So what if a replica goes offline? In that case, if we have only one replica, the master we will redirect the read operation, like all the operations to the master, until we spin off a new replica. And in the case that we have more than one replicas, It's even better because let's say we have 3 and one of them went down, we can just simply redirect all the read traffic to the remaining 2, and then until we spin up a new replica. If the leader goes offline, it's still not a huge problem. If the leader goes offline, we pick one of the replicas as the new leader. We promote it to a leader and redirect the right operations to the new leader. And then we also spin up a new replica to support the read operations. So that's all for databases for now. So the next video is going to be about load balancers, and I hope to see you there.